Hi, I'm Maureen from Essential Fitness. Thanks so much for your interest in learning more about what we do here. I'm going to give you a little history on how we came to be who we are today and why, and the journey of why and how I figured out the best way to train women, which is through strength training and eating healthfully. So I've always been an athlete. I was an athlete in high school, except I struggled with anorexia. So I always was judging myself harshly, and no matter how many sports I played, I was never fully happy with myself. And a lot of people can associate with this. A lot of us had acceptance issues when we were younger. And especially for me, what I found with food in particular was that I was always trying to control it, and I was always trying to eat to lose weight. And I found myself working out very often and trying to run off all of my food. And yet, despite all of that, I was still never very satisfied with myself. I was always very critical of myself, and I always wanted to be skinnier and more fit. And those two things don't generally combine very well. So I went through high school and college through athletics, and I kept working out because I loved it so much, but it never gave me the results that I wanted. And it wasn't until a couple years after becoming a personal trainer, I was lifting weights and training my clients a little bit in weightlifting, but I was frustrated with the lack of results that they had. So I had a basic beginning knowledge of weightlifting, which we used a lot in group exercise, and I also did a lot of boot camps. But what I found was that women that I was training, they weren't changing very much. They often just kind of looked the same, and their results were haphazard, as mine had been up until that point. And it wasn't until I joined a place in Ohio under the name of Chastity that she was an IFBB figure pro. So she was a bodybuilder in a natural figure way, and she introduced me to lifting weights for women because women have a very hard time putting on muscle. So at that point I hadn't learned the ins and outs of weightlifting, and she really taught me about how women can lift more than 20 pounds and how to eat to gain muscle rather than always eating and trying to run it off. And it gave me a new appreciation and a new acceptance of my body, and it transformed my body in ways that previously athletics and running never did, and dieting. So I watched Chastity compete, and when I first watched her compete, I'll never forget how I felt when I saw her up on that stage in a bikini and 5-inch heels. And I was so afraid, even just sitting in the auditorium watching her, because I knew that she was being judged by everybody around me, by the men and women on the judging panel, and it made me so scared. I had no confidence to be able to think that I could ever do that. But after lifting weights for a couple more years, I finally did decide to compete myself. And I never ever would have dreamed that I was capable of doing that. But what I learned through this process is that as I got stronger through strength training, my confidence grew as well. I never could have done that before I had started this journey. So I competed for 3 years very successfully on the national and regional stage, and I learned so many things about weightlifting and eating healthfully, and I've incorporated all that here in Essential Fitness, because what I have found is if that could take me from a girl who never thought that she was good enough or fit enough or skinny enough to somebody who could be confident enough to stand on stage and be judged by everyone around her, I never once at that time thought that the judges or anyone else thought that I was fat. I was proud of my body finally, and weight training did that for me. So here at Essential Fitness, this is what we specialize in, especially for women over 40 who really need weight training to boost their metabolism and give them the tone and strength that they've always wanted. And we also do it in a way that will train you one-on-one or in small groups of 6 or less. Because as I've found in the past, large group training never really worked for anybody. Nobody ever really got better. So we like to definitely give you a lot of personal attention here so that you get better, and we teach you the basics of weight training so that you can see the results that you've always wanted. So thanks so much for listening to my story. I hope it helps explain why we do what we do here, and I hope to see you here at Essential Fitness very soon.